I'm Bridget, but you can just call me B, and I've decided to start a channel revolving around books and book reviews and everything like that. I'm sure you've heard of the concept before. For years, I've been like, okay, well, if I ever got a really good camera, I would become a booktuber. Then I would start making videos. Well, if you're watching this, then you know that I don't have a good camera, but alas, here we are. Anyway, I decided to kick it right off with a book review. So the book I'm going to be reviewing today is the amazing, the wonderful Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I'm not familiar with Carry On, which I would find surprising because it's huge and it's Rainbow Rowell. Well, basically the premise is that Simon Snow is the chosen one. In the world of mages, there is this big bad called the Insidious Humdrum, and for some reason he looks a lot like 11-year-old Simon. And Simon Snow is the chosen one. He's full of magic, but he wasn't born into a magical family as far as he knows, which in this world doesn't happen. But he has so much magic, it's practically bursting out of him. He can't control it. Everything he does is too much, so he can't really cast very many spells because he's just so full of magic. And his roommate, Baz, they have kind of a rivalry. And this book is a love story between them, and it's basically about Simon figuring out the world that he lives in, figuring out who's bad and who's good actually after years and years of hating his roommate, who obviously in this book, you couldn't tell from the cover, silhouettes of two boys almost kissing, he comes to love. And it is so awesome. It's amazing. It is perfect. It gives me all the happy, warm feelings. I just want to cuddle it all day long because it's so freaking cute. And I just freaking love it so much. It's my book. You know how if you don't like drinking, everyone is like, well, you just gotta find your drink. Once you find your drink, then you'll be fine. You can just order it at every bar. You can just make it at home because it'll be your drink. And you'll love it. That's how I feel about this book. It's my book. I love it. And I feel like it's one of those books that I always have to preface by saying, okay, obviously I know this isn't perfect literature. It's no Great Gatsby. It's not The Catcher in the Rye, if that's considered great literature. It's not a classic for the ages. I don't care. I love it. It's one of my all-time favorites now just because it's so great. And that's about it for the non-spoiler part of this review. So if you haven't read it yet, there we go. What are you still doing here? Bye. Okay, let's launch into my feelings. So we start out with Simon taking the bus to get to his magical place, and the first 150 pages are quite slow moving. We're introduced to Penelope and everything early on, but Baz is not there. We hear a lot about Baz from Simon's perspective, which I found super entertaining. Every time that Baz was mentioned, I was cracking up. I love this book so much. I read it 5 times, and there was once where I decided to go back and highlight and write in the margins, which I never do. I know people hate writing in books. They think that it's treasonous, but I decided to do it just because I love the book so much, and I just wanted to put my own stuff into it. So it is really just commentary, mostly on Baz and Simon's relationship, especially in the first 150 pages about Simon's latent feelings for Baz that he has yet to admit to himself, which are glaringly obvious to the reader and probably to Penelope and probably to anyone who spends more than 5 seconds with Simon Snow, because all he can talk about is Baz and how Baz is plotting and what he's planning and how he can't stop thinking about him and how he freaking watches him from the window when he plays soccer/football. It's so embarrassing how obsessed he is with Baz, and he doesn't even notice. So flash forward 150 pages. We've had Simon saying a lot of crap about Baz. We don't know if it's true. We don't know if Baz has really been plotting for these 2 months that he's been missing. Maybe he was. But flash forward, he arrives. He kicks open the door. He uses open sesame as a spell, but the door pops open and Baz walks in like he's on a red carpet, and he's like, it's okay, I'm here. And of course, everyone's staring at him because he needs to make the biggest scene possible because he is such a drama queen. Like, he is such a drama queen. He has a flair for the dramatic, okay? And of course, we have Agatha in the corner staring at him like with her dreamy eyes, like trying to communicate something. And he's like, anyway, so we have a few chapters of them interacting. We still don't fully know how Baz feels about Simon. We don't know their whole relationship. We haven't really seen that for the first, like, I think it's 2 or 3 chapters of Baz's perspective until we're in the room and Simon's asleep across from Baz. And finally, we get something. We get Baz admitting how he feels. Just a little disclaimer, I don't even usually get really invested in romances, fictional or not. Like, I could take or leave them 99% of the time, but sometimes when a relationship strikes me, I get extremely squealy and fangirly and into it. I was like screaming. I put down this book to squeal because it was so fucking cute. Like, and I noticed a lot of parallels between what they were thinking about each other. Like, there was a line where Simon says, sharing a room with the person you hate most is like sharing a room with a siren. And then flash forward to the next chapter, sharing a room with the person you want most is like sharing a room with an open flame. I was just like, I can't handle this. Like, that whole tangent he went on about how Simon was an open flame and he was flammable. I was like, I was freaking out. It was so freaking cute. Baz thinks the cutest things. You think he would say one once in a while. It's so hilarious how aloof and mean Baz is to Simon outwardly, and inwardly he's just like, oh, he's so beautiful. Oh, I love him. But outwardly he's like, you're an idiot. I find it so hilarious. Like, especially, I'm skipping forward a bit, but especially after they've like kissed for the first time and they've like spent all night kissing in each other's arms, blah 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 blah, and the next day and when Simon says he's not gonna kill him and he like wants them to have a truce, whatever, he's like, fine, that'll make it easier when I have to kill you then. And I was like, Baz, like, stop for 2 seconds, why are you like this? But I love it. And that whole confrontation over Agatha, I was like, I could understand exactly where Simon was coming from, and I thought it was so sweet how he was so angry that he was like, you can't just play with people's emotions like that. Was that not what Agatha was doing to him? Was that not the same thing? Like, technically, I don't think Simon Snow was ever really in love with Agatha, but he could have been, you know? Like, she was in love with him, but he could have been in love with her, and she still wanted to go get a kiss from Baz and all this stuff, and he still stuck up for her, and I think that's really sweet. Agatha, alright, let's talk about Agatha for a second. Agatha's a character that I don't like, I don't trust, I don't want anything to do with. She's just a nuisance. Why is she here? Penelope summed it up best when she said, alright, it might have been a mistake bringing Agatha. Yeah, Penelope, I think it was. Agatha is so annoying. She was just like, I want to cheat on Simon, and then I want to break up with him for him because he's dangerous. Like, I've had enough. I've really had enough of Agatha. Everything about her annoys me. There's not a single redeeming quality that I can find in her. I don't like her at all. But, you know who I love? Penelope! And you know what relationship I loved almost as much as I loved Snow Baz, which is Simon and Baz? You know which relationship I loved almost as much? Penelope and Simon. Their friendship is so freaking cute. She is so protective of him. We get that line in the beginning of the book where she says that she thinks she and Simon should just run away. But if they did that, who would save the world of mages? Anyway, let's talk about the fire scene, the scene where they kiss for the first time. I was crying. There was the part where Simon realized that he was crying, where he was like, no, you're not a monster. Like, you're a bully, but you're not a monster. You never bit anyone. You know, you're not evil. And Baz was saying, like, I'm gonna have to spell this kid away from me. He's gonna kiss him. And I was nervous, but I was like, kiss him. I was like, do it. Kiss him. And then Simon kissed him. And I was like fireworks exploded, and it was magical, and I loved it so much. And the end line of chapter 61, the infamous chapter, always kills me and ends my life. It's like, I'm gonna die kissing Simon Snow. Oh, Crowley, I've lived a charmed life. And then he goes, Simon Snow's gonna die kissing me. And then next time we hop over to his point of view, he says, Simon Snow is still going to die kissing me. Just not today. And I was like, babes. And then, of course, like, 2 scenes later, he was like, what did I expect? That me and Simon would be together? We're still enemies. No, you're not, Baz. Anyway, flash forward a bit to, well, a lot. So after Simon and Baz have been together and Agatha and Penelope came and left, we finally get to big confrontation with the humdrum. We find out that the mage is Simon's father. Simon never finds out. We find out that the humdrum is like an impression of an 11-year-old Simon, like empty space that's been filled by Simon's magic, so it's taken his form. So it's kind of Simon. When we get Baz saying, you're the humdrum, and Simon's like, what? No, I'm not. I'm not the humdrum. I would know if I was the humdrum, and I'm sitting there like, he's not the humdrum. He would know. Like, I'm terrified that Simon has somehow, like, been in this trance, and he's been blacking out and going out and, like, sending dragons to the school. No. And then they were like, oh, it's like an impression of him. I was like, it's not him, Baz. Because it looks like him, and technically it's like a clone of him at 11. It's not him. He was sitting there using Simon. Technically, Simon caused it because of his explosion when he was 11 or whatever. But it's not him, and it's not his fault. So that was annoying me. How Baz just kept saying, well, you're the humdrum. He didn't really seem to mind because he sees himself as a monster and a freak. So he was like, well, Simon's a monster and a freak too. So, and we get the line, because we match, which is a really popular line, and I've seen it like on clothes and stuff like that. We get to the end of the story. Everything has been figured out. Simon's off in the tower with the humdrum and the mage, and Ebb has just been killed, and Agatha just took off running. Technically, Ebb like cast a spell, so she had to keep running, but somehow I still blame her for doing that. I still don't like her. She stole the dog that Penelope had been talking through. Like, so we get up there, and Baz hooks his arm around Penelope and says, on love's light wings, which you can only cast if you're stupidly in love. And at this point, I think that Penelope's putting the pieces together. We get a few lines of her talking about their stupid love triangle drama when she comes to visit Simon and Baz at Baz's house during Christmas break. Really, it's like a love curved line. It's not really a triangle because nobody really likes Agatha. And I know that she's not really as in tuned to the feelings of others as she could be, but I think she figured it out by then. Like, we know that Baz wasn't like stupidly in love with Agatha, so who could he have possibly been stupidly in love with? And I refuse to believe that she didn't know about that spell. If Baz knew about it, Penelope knew about it. And then we get the line afterwards, once the mage is dead and the humdrum's destroyed and Simon is a mess, he's lost his magic, he has his wings, and Baz is holding him, and he says, it's gonna be okay, love, and then she has the thought, everything is starting to make sense. Like, oh, that's why he's been obsessed with him for years, why they've both been obsessed with each other for years. That's why he went back even after me and Agatha went and got him. That's why he cast on Love's Light Wings. That's why he came to my house and asked if Simon was okay. Like, it's just a bunch of pieces falling together in her mind, and I thought that was really hilarious. Like, maybe she should have noticed throughout everything, but Simon didn't even notice, so you can't really blame her. Let's talk about the ending for a minute. We get this scene at the dance, which I didn't love. There were lines in the scene that I thought were funny, like, dancing's well gay, he says, even when it's not two blokes. And basically, Simon is saying how he feels useless without his magic, and that he's not the same person without his magic, and that Baz shouldn't want to be with him anymore because he's not the same person without his magic, to which Baz argues, yeah, you are. You're not your magic, you never were. Like, yes, that was a huge part of your life, and yes, it was a huge part of people's image of you, but it's not who you are. And yes, I liked that scene. It was frustrating and it was hard to read because I felt so bad for Simon when he lost his magic. Like, I know that that's a huge part of his life, and I felt so bad for him. And that scene was really hard to read because I could tell that the relationship had been kind of stalled. Baz was off at Watford, and Simon didn't go back because obviously he didn't have his magic. And it was extremely difficult. He's saying, like, we shouldn't be together anymore because I don't have my magic. I'm not, like, well suited for you. We get the line where he's like, I choose you. Simon Snow, I choose you. And that was really sweet. And it's like, you can change your mind. And he's like, I won't. That was really freaking sweet. At the very, very ending, which is they have gone off to university. They've all scattered throughout the world. Basically, all of them have abandoned the world of mages. Penelope and Baz have only abandoned it temporarily, I'm left to assume. I think that they'll go back. I have no idea about Agatha. Probably not, but I don't really care about Agatha. She just fuck right off for all I care. Assume Penelope and Baz are going to go back to the world of mages at some point to do something, but Baz has, like, family money to live off of. Penelope's in college. She's smart. She can figure it out. And I like that Penelope and Simon are living together. I like that Baz was like, I'm gonna haunt your doorstep all the time. That was cute. Though objectively, it's a good ending. It's a good ending. They were happy. Simon kind of had, like, he wasn't normal. He might have lost his magic, but he had weird, giant, demon reptilian wings, so that's a consolation prize, I guess, and a tail to go along with it. I guess objectively it was a good ending. They ended up together. Whatever. I just wish that Simon had gotten some sort of magic back because he wasn't a human, The mage and Lucy were his parents, and they were both born of magic. They were both from the world of mages. So he was always made to have magic. The magic that he had wasn't his because the mage kind of forced it into him, but he was always supposed to have magic. So it always kind of bothered me. I wanted him to not have, like, the amazing, all-encompassing, huge amount of magic that he had throughout the book. I wanted him to just have a regular mage's amount of magic and to be able to enter into that world because it's kind of been the only place he's ever felt that he belonged or that he meant something because he was raised in an orphanage, and it's all very hard. But I guess in the end where he belonged was with Penelope and with Baz. And you get the line at the end where he's like, fell in love, didn't you? Like, just their whole thing, like, I can tell that they're, like, really cheesy and lovey-dovey around each other, and Penelope's, like, in the corner, like, if this was a stereotypical sitcom, Simon and Baz would be saying, you hang up first, no, you hang up first, and Penelope would come up and be like, I'll hang up, and would just take the phone and hang up. So, in conclusion, I loved this book. The plot could have been stronger, but that literally doesn't make a difference to me because I love this book. I love Simon and Baz. I think they're freaking adorable, and this book has moved to one of my all-time favorites of just happy, fun, awesome, fast, quick, awesome reads. Let me know how you thought about it. Let me know if you didn't like any of the characters, like I hated Agatha. A lot of people love Agatha. Let me know if you love Agatha. Tell me why. And let me know just what you think about it. I would love to discuss this book with you, so leave a comment down below. Keep an eye out for more reviews. I will probably do a review of Winter and Lady Midnight soon. I just finished both of those books. And I'll also be doing, like, probably an unpopular opinions book tag because I really want to do that because I have some unpopular opinions. Anyway, stay tuned for more videos to come, and thanks for watching. Peace out, yo!